gente, MsMalcolmHughes back with another book review, and today I am going to be reviewing Nejma by the so fantastic Nayyirah Waheed. So for those of you who have been around and have seen my review of Salt, it'll be up here. Salt was her first book of poetry. Nejma is her second book of poetry, and I just get so emotional even reviewing her work. It's just so good. It's so profound, so prophetic, and so deeply worth the read. When I did my review of Salt, I really spoke to how Salt really focuses on the interrelationships between a human and another, right? And some of that is in Nejma, but Nejma for me really is focused on that relationship with self, that really introspective work, that self-evaluation and self-actualization to really determine where you are, and that healing. And that's what I love so much about this work. It really is just a balm for healing. Nayyirah Waheed in general, and all of her works that I have read, but also specifically in this one, really uses language that is masterfully strung together. She really has a deep understanding of and way of using just the poetic prose and different formats of poetry to really get her messages across. So to better exemplify why I think she is a wordsmith, just someone whose poetic pen is a force in and of itself, I want to read some of my favorite poems from the book. And the thing about poetry for me, especially her works, is that each time different poems speak to you. So there are poems here that spoke to me and had a stronger pull than they would have in the past, just because where I am in my journey currently, right? So that's one thing that I just think is dope. So I'll read some of the ones I have tagged. Even though this book really focuses on self, there is always in her writing this larger intentionality to really focus on her community and her people. And when I say her community and her people, it's across the African diaspora. So in that desire, that love, wanting to see Black people across the diaspora see ourselves for the beauty that we are, is something that always speaks and is beating throughout every poem in this book. So this is one that I love because it always, every time I read this, it always rings true for me. I want work that is a relentless oasis. Always. Me too, always. This one is one that, this one hit me different for the first time. It just hit differently than it had before. This one hit different than it had before, and it's a short one. Some of the poems in here are really short. Some are longer, but most of them are short, like bite-sized pieces that just fill your soul. So this one is You Smell Like Love. What does love smell like? Like, and even though I can ask that question of what does love smell like, I know exactly what she means, having just been in a situation where it's like, you smell like love. One of her other poems is everything about you comes so effortlessly to me, and it's not in this one, it's in So, but it goes along with that of like just someone that embodies or encompasses so much of just the it for you. Oh, this one, and this really gets to the piece where I say this book focuses a lot on that inner healing. Put some honey and seawater by your bed. Acknowledge that your being needs sweetness and cleansing, that it is sore, that you are soft. Orishas. Y'all, sometimes she has a poem here that says this: some words, the way they look at you. And that's how I feel about her writing. Just, I come here and I analyze books, but sometimes the work itself speaks for itself, and you don't really need another voice added to it. And her writing is always that for me. It's always poignant and deliberate and piercing, that it speaks for itself. This one, throughout the years, y'all, this one, I come back to it. Grieve so that you can be free to feel something else. Grief, y'all. Grief is tricky because it comes in waves. You have to allow yourself to experience that to be able to move on and experience a new host of emotions. Yes, this one. And I heard her say, you are afraid of love, but love is not afraid of you. I actually don't like when people do that at poetry clubs. But it's just so appropriate because it's just me. All right, this one is a heftier one. It's a longer one, so bear with me. But it's so important because when I think of the work that I and so many others do in the realm of education, one key piece is always decolonizing curriculum, right? I was the ace student in class who was ace, like racing through her work and would whip out books that I wanted to read. And the teachers would come around. It got to the point where like they no longer even had to ask that question, but initially it would be like, have you finished your work? I have. And they would check it and I would continue reading my book. So for me, it's because, even though I've always appreciated and honestly loved school, there was always so much more of my history and my learning that wasn't taught in school that I was getting in other books that I would pick up at the library. So I would be reading those books in class after I was done with my studies because this is what interests me, right? But if those two could have been merged together, if my appetite for self-knowledge was actually being fed in the classroom, just a world of difference that would have made. And this poem speaks to that. Our tragedy begins humid, in a humid classroom with a humid textbook breaking into us, stealing us from ourselves, one poem at a time. It begins with Shakespeare, the hot wash, the cool acid of dead white men and women, people, each one a storm, crashing into our young houses, making us islands, easy isolations, until we are so beleaguered and swollen with a definition of poetry that is white skin and not us, that we tuck our scalding, our soreness behind ourselves and learn poetry as trauma, as violence, as erasure, another place we do not exist, another form of exile, where we should praise, honor our own starvation. The little bits of Langston, Phyllis Wheatley, and Angelou during Black History Month are the crumbs, are the minor boats that give us slight rest, to be water drugged into rejecting the nuances of my own bursting extraordinary self, and to have this be called education, to take my name out of my name, out of where my native poetry lives in me, and replace it with Keats, Browning, Dixon, Woolf, Joyce, Wilde, Wolfe, Platt, Bronte, Hemingway, Hughes, Byron, Frost, Cummings, Kipling, Poe, Austen, Whitman, Blake, Longfellow, Wordsmith, Duffy, Twain, Emerson, Yeats, Tennyson, Auden, Thoreau, Chaucer, Thomas, Riley, Marlowe, Burns, Shelley, Carroll, Eliot. What is the necessity of a Black child being this high off whiteness? And so we are here, brown babies, worshiping, feeding the glutton that is white literature, even after it dies, the hot wash. Years later, the conclusion. Shakespeare is relative, white literature is relative, that we are force-fed the meat of an animal that our bodies will not recognize as inherent nutrition. It's not relative, it's inert. It's so good! Y'all, she's so good. She's so good. And then there's also the poems that she writes for Nayyirah, Nelson Mandela. And those get me because I remember so distinctly where I was and what I was doing when I learned that Nelson Mandela had passed on. And there's some deaths that just hit you that way. You feel them on a spiritual and a soul level. You know that the universe has changed because that person has transcended. And for me, Nelson Mandela was one of those. This prayer, Elder Mandela, here is my heart to place under yours, as right now you are slow breaths and low eye, all that strength you made from horror, from a jail cell, made of your mother's island. I return some to you. Here are my legs, my arms, my voice, Madiba. 94 years is many lives, is many bones to go through, many walks through the sun, many hearts to shed, many stars of joy to comb through your hair, a lot of time to drink. Let us hold you now. Let us warm the water for your skin. Let our youth be your comfort. We have seen how your feet dance. Know that we have committed your rhythm, your song, you, to memory. Our weeping is our hope and fresh morning. We know what the ancestors sound like when they come, when they are ready for you. Medeba, if you have done what you came to do, if you are finished transcribing your soul into humanity, we will have our cloth ready, our flowers ready, our songs in our mouths ready, our feet and all the drums ready, our fresh water, our spirits ready to walk you home. Ashe. And that's watching over Medeba. And y'all, I'm not gonna read too many more because I think that you all should read the book, purchase the book, support this artist. Here's a shorter one. I am taking a bath. I am washing a war from me. And this last one I'll read are the ones that I've bookmarked, and then I'm just gonna open it to a page so y'all can understand why she is, place where she is, when I think of the authors that rank highly in my literary canon. I have not written in months. My fingers are mobile. You are with a writer who is not writing. Last night you said, love, let me read to you. I was laying on my stomach as you began translating the Book of the Fixed Stars by Abd al-Rahman al-Sufi, the Persian Sufi astronomer. You said, he hand wrote this around 964, a book of the sky with his hands. We arrive at the page where al-Sufi speaks of a little cloud laying at the mouth of a big fish. This was later named the Andromeda Galaxy, you say. As you read, I am transforming into that thing. I can feel it. I am writing. My stomach is writing. My back is writing. The water behind my right eye is writing. I gather your hands to my lips. I am grateful for you, for the kind of love that will read me the loosely translated star works of incredible Sufi astronomers on warm Tuesday evenings. The kind of love that loves a writer when they cannot write. Y'all, I'm a romantic at heart, y'all. I don't know what to tell you. But the love that, it makes me think of an introduction that Ta-Nehisi Coates used for one of his books. And it's the people like who saw me into the deep and led me back to shore. It's something along those lines. The people that will love you through the darkness, will love you through the periods in which you do not feel and do not know yourself. You do not know who you are in these moments, but there are the people, your tribe, who lead you back to shore by reminding you of who you are. And I'm grateful that I know those type of people. All right, one last poem. I'm just gonna open this up to any page. Whew. Yes, okay. I need 1 year without the dogs of whiteness trying to devour me. The year, the unrelent. Y'all, I'm gonna let it end there. I'm gonna let her work, speak for herself, speak for itself. She's an amazing writer, a talented artist, and I love that she views herself more as a conduit and a vessel, right? And she's like, I can't save you. It's the poem that saves you, right? So she is masterful. She is brilliant. She is super dope. If anyone who knows me, if I tell you you're dope, I use the word dope, you probably don't get a higher honor from me than the word dope. But yeah, y'all, that is my review of Nejma. It's amazing. If I had to give it a grade on a scale of A to F, it's an A, easy. I think that in comparison to Salt, I think that some people may prefer Salt, but I think that they're both special in different ways. Again, I think Salt is the interpersonal relationships, and I think that Nejma is the I relationship. And I think it's just a brilliant work of poetry. So everyone should check it out. Of course, there are more reviews to come. If you all have not, and if you have not, I don't know why you have not, but go ahead, enter my book giveaway for Life After Death by Sister Soja, which is coming out on March 2nd. I actually have a really special announcement for that I'll be announcing next month. But I'm super excited, so look forward to that. And as always, until next time, I am MsMalcolmHughes, one who believes that books are sometimes better than people. And until next time, y'all, continue to stay safe and be kind to each other. Also, for those of you inquiring, I do still have buttons, my MsMalcolmHughes pins, and the details on how to get those are below.